Find out how far two young country singers will go to become famous in Torn Hearts, directed by Bree Grant, who directed 12-Hour Shift and Best Friends Forever, written by Rachel Kohler-Croft, and this centers around two young country singers named Jordan and Leighed, who are trying to make it big. Jordan, played by Abby Quinn, and Leighed, played by Alexis Lemire. And they are just two young, pretty girls in Nashville that are just trying to show their passion for music. They're trying to, they're working in bars, they're working out of their cars, but here you are. No, wait, that's Big Mama from Jim Crockett Promotions. Non-wrestling fans have no fucking idea who I'm talking about. But nevertheless, let's get away from the stories about the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, and Big Mama. Boy, that was a terrible goddamn promo. And let's get back to this movie that basically is around the country music scene, and it shows how, well, two young up-and-coming stars are really, really wanting to do everything they fucking can, including, in the case of Leighed, or Lee, I mean, depending on how you pronounce the name, even sleeping with their agent, Richie, who is old enough to be their dad. They basically hammer this point home quite constantly. And he's trying to help them out, but he's like, well, you have to do things a certain way. You have to figure this stuff out, and you have to basically play the song that people want to hear, not necessarily the song that you want to play. And then in one bar area that has about, I don't know, maybe 100 people, but whatever. I mean, there are some shows that don't even draw that anymore, like some wrestling shows. Nevertheless, let's get off the wrestling talk. They are talking to a guy named Caleb, who's a big-time music producer. And him and Jordan end up sleeping together. And he has a bunch of pictures around his house and a giant chandelier that literally goes from like the goddamn ceiling to the floor. I don't know why you would need a chandelier like that. I don't know why you would need anything like that in your house, but nevertheless. Turns out that Jordan and Leighed are, they love the Duchess sisters. And there is Harper, played by Katie Seagal, who was Pagan, Married with Children, Love and Marriage, and also was the voice of Leela in Futurama. Once famous sisters, and Harper's sister Hope has passed away, and now she's living a reclusive lifestyle, and really, after the tour kind of went tits up, and fame kind of died down, she's basically living off, not necessarily off the grid, but off the beaten path, as it were. And since Leighed is such a big goddamn fan, and Jordan knows that, she finds out, oh, Caleb, you knew her. Well, hey, we should do the smart thing, because instead of collaborating with you or going to the studio to be with Richie, a guy I don't like because he's banging my best friend, and I'm referring to the characters, not actually anybody that's my best friend, nevertheless, they decide to do the smart thing and go to Harper's house, which is in basically disarray as far as overgrowth around the gate. It looked like it was a once, great establishment. The house is not clean. There's a lot of weird shit going on. And, oh yeah, it turns out that Harper is absolutely bonkers insane. And after coming up with a brilliant idea to go there and try to collaborate with her and show their passion, things go really, really goddamn weird. So this movie is from Blumhouse TV, because of course it fucking is. And also from Epix. It's an Epix original film. I don't have Epix anymore. I ordered this on Amazon and paid a few extra bucks because Epix didn't really have enough stuff that I was necessarily interested in. Nevertheless, if you guys have the streaming service, that's fine. But I was like, all right, this is either going to be good Blumhouse, like the Invisible Man remake, that wasn't great, but was certainly better than I expected, or it's going to be like a lot of Blumhouse stuff, or Blumhouse, however you say it, and it's going to be absolutely terrible. And unfortunately, it kind of falls into the latter category. And this is not the fault of anybody that is in the movie. It's a very small cast. It only centers around the 5 fucking characters that I mentioned. And even then, it really just centers around the 3 women. And there's nothing wrong with having a strong, set of female leads and going with that, or having even a strong female lead as the possible villain. They did that with Ma, that had Octavia Spencer, and nothing else. The movie's also a lot like Ma, in the sense that you can obviously tell what's going to fucking come. Every character in the movie should have been able to tell that, but then they decided to throw a third act twist in here, but oh no, we didn't expect that to happen. Except we totally fucking did. Anybody that's been outside for 5 fucking minutes can tell every twist in this goddamn movie, and there's nothing wrong with having predictability in a horror slash, psychological drama, whatever. The thing about this movie is it takes so long to get to its point. By the time it does, you just can't help but laugh. I mean, every goddamn bit of spontaneity, every goddamn bit of horror, every goddamn bit of, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, is wrung out of this movie. And even though Katie Seagal tries her best, she can only do so much. You can tell she's having a blast here. The two other girls, Abby Quinn and Alexis Lemire, are given basically nothing. They are given absolutely nothing in this and try their best to work with the material. It's not very good. It's definitely not scary. The twist at the end is just really goddamn bullshit. And I understand what they were trying to go for. They were trying to go, oh, jealousy. Can jealousy, break people apart? Like, how far would you go for fame? Sure, those are great questions. The problem is this movie doesn't do a great job addressing those because it just kind of throws shit at you in the last 20, 30 minutes like the Paranormal Activity movies, except the Paranormal Activity movies are actually kind of enjoyable-ish. Torn Hearts, which is the name of Jordan and Leigh's group, it doesn't have anything to it. There's not really much of anything. And as it tries to be almost a commentary on, like, how fame can consume people alive, it ends up failing as a horror movie. It ends up failing basically as a movie. It's barely a fucking concept. I mean, yeah, it's from Blumhouse TV. There isn't a huge budget to it, but it's not very good. It's not very good at all. In fact, I would argue that this is one of the worst movies I've seen this year. It wastes the potential of a good concept, and it just ends up being like a worse version of Ma. Because at least with Octavia Spencer, she was chewing the goddamn scenery. Katie Seagal was trying to chew the scenery, but could chew very little because there wasn't a lot to bite into. Also, the twists and everything are fucking bullshit. Did I mention that? So yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers here in just a little bit, but it is on Amazon, or if you have Epics, it is on there, I believe. Maybe. But it's on Amazon. I mean, there are worse ways to spend your time, but it's certainly not that great. I spent $7 on. I certainly spent more on worse movies. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so this whole thing about Harper losing her sister Hope. Well, we see in the beginning, oh my god, somebody got shot. Gee, you think it was Hope? My idea on the twist was either Harper had killed Hope, or Harper was Hope. Einhorn is Finkel, Finkel is Einhorn, and it turned out it was the first one, that Harper had killed Hope. Also, once Jordan and Leighed get there, she tries to drive a wedge between them, because there's obvious jealousy. Oh, one's always better than the other. And works on them both. Sees potential in Leighed, not so much in Jordan, and then ends up basically driving a wedge between them, where Leighed ends up not believing that Jordan actually got locked in the basement, and that all this stuff is like, oh, she wants to do a duet, doesn't want to do a threesome. Oh my. And basically, Jordan finds a whole bunch of stuff in the basement, like an eye in a jar, a finger in a jar, because she kept pieces of Hope, pieces of Hope, the lesser-known Ashlee Simpson song. If anybody remembers Ashlee Simpson's music, I'm sorry. Anyway, basically what ends up happening is after Jordan finds that stuff, Richie had shown up, the agent, and he'd gotten killed because Katie Seagal was just like, I need to do something to spice up this movie. So I have this pie that these girls made. I have a knife. Stab Richie, and that's it. And then she chases them around with a shotgun, the two girls, and then they end up in almost a seeming, gunfight where Harper has been shot. It turns out that Harper actually killed Hope, and that Harper gets shot, and at that same time, two guns that were held by Leighed and Jordan. Leighed had shot Jordan, and then Jordan shot Leighed, and that's it. It ends up in this whole thing because they were all jealous of each other, and Leighed wanted to be this big star, but then she got shot, and then it ends with Caleb making or cashing in on their drama and tragedy by taking their music and taking it on tour and becoming famous because of that. Look, there isn't a whole lot to this movie, and I'm amazed that anybody could get anything out of this, in all honesty. Again, I've seen worse movies this year, but it still wasn't all that good. And I gotta give it an F because I was pretty goddamn annoyed with it. Every character was really dumb in this. I mean, and even though the actors certainly tried, this didn't have enough. This was stretched out to fucking 97 minutes, and it was barely 50 minutes worth of material. Plus, the character of Leighed just had such a character shift, like, oh yeah, I'll become famous with this clearly nutty individual and kill my best friend, and then I got killed. How'd that fucking work out for you? But yeah, F. Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.